if you're looking to do a PhD in Singapore and are wondering how does a PhD work here and what are the different pros and cons you need to know before considering a PhD, then today we're going to share experience of a PhD graduate, Matias, who has done his PhD at National University of Singapore and very kindly has agreed to share his experience with us. So welcome, Matias.
Thank you, Hafiz, for having me.
So Matias is currently a postdoc, and he will briefly introduce himself. So we'll be basically, as always, we'll be going through a little bit about the process, how to get a PhD in National University of Singapore, which is, by the way, one of the top 10 universities in the world, so very well reputed. And then we'll also talk a little bit about the scholarship and the funding opportunities, how's the visa and the relocation for the international PhD students if you are coming from somewhere else. Then we'll also be talk a little bit about the life as a PhD student, and then what are the post-PhD opportunities. So we'll get into the details, but Matias, could you briefly introduce yourself? What's your background in terms of your bachelor degree, and where do you come from? Also, if you would like to share that, and what was your PhD about, and currently what you are doing after your PhD.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for that intro, Hafiz. So my name is Matias Quintana. I did my PhD here in NUS, National University of Singapore. The department is called Department of the Built Environment, but my research was primarily focused on indoor thermal comfort and some energy optimization and control. That's our library, making some sounds.
Please, we will be closing the library in half an hour's time.
Okay.
Please make sure that you take all your personal belongings with you when you leave.
We have plenty of time, though.
Please. We will be closing the library in half an hour's time. Please make sure that you take all your personal belongings with you when you leave. Thank you.
That's
Nice.
the most casual and what is it called? Original experience you can get.
Yes, of being at NUS at the study place. But as I was saying, my research was primarily an indoor environment, such as we are here right now. Indoor thermal comfort, energy optimization, control a little bit. My background, though, before that, I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering in Latin America. I'm originally from Lima, Peru. I studied there for my bachelor's. I worked a little bit in the power sector and IT sector, roughly 2 years-ish, and then I moved to the U.S. for a master's in comp-sci in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, university called Carnegie Mellon.
Nice.
And after that, after 2 years, after finishing the master's, is that I eventually moved here to Singapore in 2018 to start my PhD, for which now I am a postdoc, still in the built environment, but moved from the building domain to the city scale neighborhood level, doing energy alongside other approaches or dimensions such as now outdoor comfort, but also district level energy, urban planning, and all still revolving around machine learning and data analytics.
Very timely and interesting topic.
Yes.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. So maybe could you also share how much time did it take for you to complete your PhD? So it was from 2018, right?
Yes. So PhDs here in Singapore are pretty much like the length is regulated. So you are expected to finish them in 4. There are some cases that there's some leeway to allow you to finish in 5 years. But if you enroll as a full-time PhD student, because there's an option to do a part-time, you're expected to finish in 4, with, again, some exceptions of 4.5, 5 years. So for me, it took me 4 years almost to the dot. I started on August, and I defended in September, almost 4 years later.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's get into a little bit about the application process for aspiring PhD students. Could you share a little bit about how does the application process work? Do you normally send email to the supervisor, reach out personally, or is there a portal you apply against the opportunity? And yeah, how did you contact your supervisor?
So I know this is a very specific, country-specific, university-specific scenario. I'm familiar with the US scenario and here because those are the 2 places I applied before. There is, of course, ultimately everything has to go through the university. So there's a portal that you apply. I think there is value in having to contact first a professor, a potential professor, a mentor. I don't think it's mandatory, of course not, but it does help in my experience and what I've seen from colleagues and friends. In NUS, though, it's similar as many other places. There's a portal. You apply at the school level, at the faculty level, let's say. So if you want to have a PhD in engineering, you have to apply to the faculty of engineering, then to the specific, let's say, department, whether that's civil, electrical, whatever. And usually there will be an option where you have to choose a tentative PI, a tentative professors. And that's how I eventually apply. Although in my case, as embarrassing as it sounds, I didn't know about Singapore when I first applied. I met my former PhD supervisor in a conference. We were in TU Delft actually at 2017, and he was there in a conference in Biltzis, and he was recruiting. He just started his job here, and I was looking for PhDs, but I was only looking in the US. And he invited me to apply here and to list him as a potential PI. And we during the conference we brainstorm about what potential topics, let's say, will be interesting. Because ultimately, this is related to the funding question, but whether or not you get hired depends on also who is gonna cover your cost, right? Whether it's a scholarship by the university or you're attached to a project in which if you are a good fit for the project, you'll have a higher chance of getting hired for that. But that is very hard to make generalizations about those things because again depends on the university, the country. Sometimes the laws are different. Like here is very much very few professors opt to fund students for projects. So there are cases, but mostly you will have to have a scholarship, which makes them more competitive.
Okay. So application is one thing and the scholarship is another thing. So these are the two different applications.
Yes, although for the scholarship, you don't have to do a separate application. Usually there's just a checkbox in the normal application that you said, I want to be opted for this one or this other one. I do think that at least that's for the university level scholarship. There are ones that are government level or country level. Singapore has one called Singa. Specifically for foreign students. So that one, I do think it's a separate document, and it will have their own requirements. I have friends who are currently on that scholarship, friends who already got that scholarship and graduated from NUS, and it's a very good deal, I think, compared to the local scholarship. Both are great, actually. Both are very, very much similar. It's just that in the Singa one is specifically tailored for foreign students.
Right.
The other one you will be competing for locals if they're applying as well.
Sounds good. So what I could understand is you have to kind of have an understanding with the supervisor first. That normally helps you in increasing the chances. But then you have to go through this application portal, and it's a simple application, and then you checkbox the scholarship option in that, and then you would basically go through a pool of screening process and whatever. And I'm assuming, is it competitive to get into NUS?
It is. So I think even more now than before. Sometimes I joke with my current boss that if the same standards as now were being held when we were applying, we probably would have not get in. Not just because they say the bar is higher, yes, I think, and also there is even more competition now. There's more qualified students from many different places. There are sometimes jokes and memes that people even applying for PhD already have publications. They're already applying with 2 or 3 journal papers under their belt, which is nothing compared to what I had when I applied. I barely had a conference paper.
And same for me, actually.
Right, which it's still a big deal, right? It's still impressive, but it's just interesting to say the least. How it's becoming more and more gruesome. I don't want people to feel discouraged, though. I don't think you have to have a paper to be accepted. I don't think that's the case. From my own experience, even my current role, hiring students and researchers, publications and research sort of attitude is something we look for. But there are other traits that we are able to, or hopefully we're able to discern and to look for in students rather than grades or rather than how many papers you have.
So it might also include the grades that you have, but also the communication skills, I assume.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And also, it's kind of an overall package in the end of the day. So I guess.
Yes.
So encouraging words from Matias. So go ahead, check out the opportunities, and I guess you can also check out Matias's group, which is also doing some really cool work. We will also put description of his research group just for your information about what kind of work they do in their lab. Okay, great. And then scholarship opportunities we already discussed. So Singa and NUS research scholarship. Do you think like the stipend amount is like good enough for the student to sustain in the city of Singapore, in the country of Singapore? Singapore is, by the way, an interesting country. It's a one city country.
Yes.
So do you think like the scholarship is sustainable for you in terms of the living expenses, in terms of the tuition fee, and in terms of generally living here?
So I think it is enough to get by, and if you're frugal, you are able to save for sure. But Singapore is quite an expensive country. Certain things could be really accessible and cheap. Food is one of the few places where eating outside is sometimes cheaper than trying to cook at home, surprisingly. And food is really, really good. A lot of local food, a lot of food from the region, not just Singaporean food, let's say, but from the Malayan Peninsula, from Thailand, from many different places nearby, Indonesia. Rent is a very sensitive topic in Singapore, and it's very expensive. With a stipend alone, I think it might be very hard to sustain by yourself. However, the university does provide some housings that are subsidized for students. There is some sort of regulations behind it, meaning it's not like you can stay for 4 years over there, assuming the duration of PhD is 4 years. But there are ways, and you can try to maximize your options. But as a PhD, the PhD goes, a lot of it comes from self motivation and self sort of trying to find that opportunities for yourself. I was able to stay for 4 years on campus, even though the allowed is 2 years, mainly because they were looking for people to be what it's called resident assistants, which means you help providing tours for exchange students, foreign students. Every now and then during the academic year, you help to organize events and certain things, for the student life, for the community. And in sort of payment, they will allow you to stay on campus for free, which I think, as a PhD student, that's a nice deal. You get to live very close to your work, so you don't commute too much, or for free with the shuttles at university. And you are able to save that money, otherwise we'll go to rent. But then again, those opportunities don't come just in your inbox. You have to look out for them. I'm sure there are similar things in other places, in other universities, other countries, but it's the type of things where you have to really be proactive.
So what I could get from what you mentioned is that you have to sort of top up your scholarship with some add-on student activities or jobs if you want to stay outside the campus, or let's say if you want to have a nice accommodation option. But you can also get cheaper accommodation on campus for the first 1 or 2 years. And in that time, you try to figure out what additional opportunities you can take on to sort of top up on your scholarship.
Yes.
Is that what you're also saying?
Partially, yes. So the issue with topping up is that Singapore is also very much strict on the norms of your student status. So we're not allowed to have a part-time job or other things.
Okay.
And to be fair, the stipend, it is enough. The stipend for you to live either outside of campus or on campus.
Could we give them a number maybe?
Yeah, I think in my time was a bit lower, but nowadays, if I understand correctly, the base salary is 2.7K Singapore dollars. For reference, the national median is 4. So it is lower than that. However, as I said, with the subsidized housing, you are allowed to save up a bit. Housing used to be in my time around 700 per month. So again, there might be some leeway there for you to save money and to live comfortable. You're not gonna have a glamorous life, otherwise why are you doing a PhD?
That's actually true everywhere. You're not gonna have a glamorous life.
No,
and a PhD.
Exactly. And even if you choose to live outside campus with this salary, you will be able to find something.
Yeah.
It's just like, of course, you're not going to expect to have your own place. You will be having roommates, perhaps a smaller space. Perhaps you have to commute a little bit more.
Perfect. Yeah.
There will be choices, but it's also where do you want to assign more important for those things. Right? Are you willing to commute for a cheaper place, or you want to pay a little bit more, but you can walk to campus, let's say?
Sure. So, my bad. I got it a bit differently,
okay.
but now it's clear that you don't want to do student jobs on top of your work, but just try to look for opportunities like what Matias did. He became a student assistant, a residence assistant, and then he had this opportunity to get a free housing on campus. But normally it's manageable. The stipend 2.7K, in my opinion, coming from Belgium university is, I think, pretty decent. And of course, you have to just pick the right residence. Don't just go for the full fancy condo
of course.
all by yourself, which costs something like 2.8K. But if you go for something nice and studentish co-living place, I think you can get something around even 1,000 or even 1,200 or something. So you just have to choose the right residence, which is possible. And then let's talk a little bit about the visa and relocation. So for the international students, do you think this visa process is good? And do you think like people normally get visa easily?
I think that normally it is. I know sometimes it can get complicated sometimes when you may have dependents under you. I do have a colleague where things were not as smooth as with my case of other cases because he is married, he has 3 kids, and that made things slightly more complicated. Not impossible. There's just more paperwork, more back and forth. And I think that happens in every country, not just here.
That's true.
But generally, the student visa process is smooth.
Your attention, please.
20 minutes.
We will be closing the library in 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Please make
That's
sure
okay.
that you take all your personal belongings with you when you leave. Your attention, please. We will be closing the library in 15 minutes' time. Please make sure that you take all your personal belongings with you when you leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was your sponsor break. But then, so yeah, it's very smooth. And relocation, they don't provide relocation. But again, to be fair, I haven't really heard of any PhD scholarship or university that provides relocation. It's always up to the student.
Exactly. Very rarely I've seen. Could you also share a little bit? So let's move on to the next section, which is life as a PhD student. So what's the research culture at NUS? How is the quality of the research work being done here? And then how's the relationship with your supervisor? I'm just gonna sum it up into one question so that you can answer in detail. Did you get opportunities for international exposures, like going to the conferences or collaborations? And how was the social life while you were the PhD student here? Do you get enough time to sort of hang out, just do some socializing, or how is it? So all of it in one question.
Sure. And I won't go too much through the
Feel free to
details.
read here for
Sure.
answering.
I think in summary, a good TLDR of this is that despite the branding or signaling the university you're in may have, everything boils down to the supervisor you have. And that is going to be the most decisive factor in how good of a bad time you have in your PhD. Realistically, you may be in the top university in the world, but if you are not in a research group that suits you, or you're not comfortable there, you're going to have a very bad time. Similar to, you might be in a university that is not too well known, but you have a great relationship with your supervisor, you really enjoy the area, the environment, then you're going to have a blast. And that said, I think it's very hard to try to know the supervisor like that before working with them. So it is sort of a gamble, but that's why you should do your research when applying to a group. Try to ask for references, right? If you're working with someone in your undergrad, your master's, do they know that person you're gonna be working with? What is the relationship? How is he or she like? What do the students think about them, and so on? Here in Singapore, like I said, it's depending on your supervisor. Labs could vary significantly between our school or between the whole department. So research life was very balanced in a sense. Our supervisor, my supervisor, Clayton Miller, will always support that to have a good balance as best as you can. Research life, we always tend to overwork anyway, but to have a balance of working hard but also having time for us to have leisure time. We always have barbecues hosted by our supervisor, going to like eat places nearby, going to like hikes in the weekend, or just exploring new places on the island, riding a bicycle or whatever.
That's true, yeah.
So find those spots, and they will those pockets of time. You can work very hard, but you need to recharge eventually, and sooner or later you might burn out. So you really want to avoid those things.
Yeah. So your experience was good then.
Yes.
And then did you get opportunity to go to international conferences and yeah?
Yes, and again, that is again very much tied with your supervisor. Most scholarships, from what I've heard, I'm not sure about Europe, but most scholarships will have one-off, let's say, ticket for a conference, all expenses paid, or one, or perhaps a yearly stipend for travel. I heard some Hong Kong universities may have that. But in any case, some scholarships might give you that. But there's also the option that your supervisor, if he is going or she is going, they really want you to they want to take you in, they'll also pay for your expenses, the flight ticket at least, and you can share an Airbnb or whatever.
That's great.
So again, boils down to the supervisor, and I was lucky enough that my supervisor was also promoted a lot in the terms of collaboration and networking, meaning that if it's a conference that he is going, we should all make our best to go, but always not just free ride your way into the conference. Try to go as a presenter, even a poster, even a paper is the best. A poster also helps because you want to make yourself known as well. And just showing up as an attendee is good, but it's even better if you say like, oh yeah, we met at the conference and here's my work, let me talk to you about it, and so on.
That's very important advice, by the way. Thanks for sharing. So actually, in KU Leuven in Belgium, the rule is you're gonna publish either a paper or a poster, or you're participating in some sort of panel discussion, but it has to be, you're doing something at the conference. I mean, there are also cases where you're just attending some conference, but mostly the rule of thumb is you would submit something. So that's I would also encourage everyone to do that. And then a little bit about the life in Singapore. The costs we have already discussed, but do you think like it's a place where the people are welcoming and it's enjoyable to live here? How's the international environment? It's a very short question if you could answer. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think in short it's great. I've been here for 8 years already. So there's a reason for that.
Wow.
The place, the food, the people feels very welcoming. Like every country, it's not perfect. There are things that I wish were different, but not to the point that I'm forced to leave or wanting to leave. It's a place definitely for study. It's a great place for that. It's a great international hub to then meet new people, collaborate, network, or even then when you have a real job, if you're able to travel around and enjoy the continent and nearby countries as well.
That's awesome. And yeah, I've been here for a few weeks now, and I've already started to enjoy the international culture. So completely agreed. Then career transition. Let's talk a little bit about the post-PhD opportunities here. So now that you've done your PhD, now you're working as a postdoc. So could you tell a little bit about the post-PhD opportunities? How did you land this postdoc? And also, what are the other opportunities for students? Do the students also get a kind of a visa for looking for jobs, like a 1-year search visa? And also, could you talk a little bit about long-term stay in Singapore if someone is interested to, go for the naturalization path, want to stay here forever, want to become a Singaporean? How's that process?
So in terms of the job search, so I don't think there's a specific visa for a job searching kind of thing. I think one usually will just have the expiration date of your student visa, which is called student pass. Student pass, it's called here. It might be a couple months after your graduation, so you have some time to look for that. There might be some other ways to extend that, long-term visa or something, but I can't remember. Or I didn't go through that. In my case, the moment I graduated, luckily my supervisor, something we talked before, I would like to stay in the country for a little while I was looking for other things. So he had a position open in the lab. He had funding to have me as a postdoc for a couple of months while I was job searching, basically. So that's very nice.
That's good.
But again, that depends on how good of a relationship you have with your supervisor and whether there are funds or not. There are opportunities in industry, not just normal tech industry, let's say, but also research entities here in Singapore. It's a country that invests a lot in research, so there are public companies working on this. Specifically in tech and building industries, there are primarily, let's say, it's mostly biotech, but nonetheless, there are other roles as well. I had an industry opportunity actually to be a data scientist, but then this opportunity for postdoc presents itself around the same time. So I decided to not go to industry for the time being and opted for this current postdoc, which, funny enough, was also recommended to me by my advisor because it's my current boss. It happens to be a very close friend of his that he knew they were looking for someone, they were looking for some time. So he invited me to apply. There was no nepotism, by the way. I did go. I did go through the entire hiring process and exams and everything. But that also, I think, highlights the networking aspect of your PhD or your academic career, even industry career. It's good to be known and to know people.
Connections are very important, guys.
Yes. Yeah, naturalization is very hard. That's a whole complicated topic, but it's not something so easy to do in this country. And usually, if you really, really want to commit to it, the safest route is to, have a family and be fully local in that sense.
Right. So what we got from the answer is you don't get a job search visa here, so you have to figure out a job opportunity before you're actually graduating.
Okay.
Yeah. So we will back in 5 minutes. Okay. Sure.
Thank you.
So there's no job search visa, and it's before you finish your PhD, you have to figure out a job opportunity, and then basically have a good connection with your supervisor, your networks. It's gonna help you a lot. Finally, any future advice for the future applicants? How do they apply at NUS, National University of Singapore, to increase their chances? And any tips?
Oh, I think that definitely try to find mentors that you would like to work with, not just anyhow apply. It's always good to aim for multiple places, but aim with a reason, with a goal, not goal. And it's useful if you already try to make that first attempt of connection. Cold email sucks, and trust me, professor receives a lot of them. But it's very clear when someone takes a ChatGPT template or a generic template and just replace the name of the professor and so on. It's very easy to detect, and trust me, professors hate that. The moment they see that, immediately goes to the trash bin, and it's a waste opportunity. You could have left a good impression. It doesn't have to be a lengthy email or whatever. Just be yourself, personalize it, be yourself, and highlight something that makes you stand out.
Awesome.
As you were saying, grades are important and everything, but at the end of the day, applying for a good school, for good places, everyone has good grades. So there has to be something else that makes you set apart. PhD is about doing stuff. So if you're into engineering or stuff, have a GitHub website, have your own website, showing that you can do stuff. You have shown that can learn and apply stuff and do your own things. That shows being a doer, being independent, and being proactive, which are crucial skills for this career.
Awesome. That's a very useful advice. We will actually do the rapid fire questions while walking, so you will see a different view.
Yes.
So now, since we got kicked out from the library, so now we are out and finishing the podcast. So you mentioned about the tips for the students. So one tip which he mentioned quite explicitly was that try to know the supervisor before you're applying, and be sure about the work and the lab you're going to, and then write a personalized email so that it sends a positive. Okay, great. So let's move on to the rapid fire questions. So what is the best place to visit in Singapore, in your opinion, for the incoming people?
I think the zoo actually it's great. It's very much well known, I think, in Asia, and it has a specific tours to be done at night, so you get to see animals who are usually nocturnal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bus that takes you like inside ish where the cages are, still within a safety distance. So you get to see animals being more active than they usually are. And they have now specific areas where, specifically the bird sort of section, where everything is open, so they're
Oh.
not cages. So
Oh, wow.
they just have small trails where you walk and the birds all flying within you. It's very hectic, but it's very, very nice. It's very, everything around it is very cool. Yeah.
Sounds very interesting. I will also visit because I haven't
You
yet.
should go.
And then the next question, what is the best food in Singapore?
That's a tough one. I saw that one. I was like, oof. Uh, my answer changes depending on like how I feel, but I don't think you can go wrong with chicken rice. With a good chili, I think it goes really, really well.
The sambal.
Yes, the sambal, stingray sambal is also pretty good. There's debates whether some of these foods are considered Singaporeans or just from the Malayan Peninsula or the
Yeah.
region. Doesn't matter. Most food here is great, if
Very
not all.
diverse,
So
yeah.
very diverse. So just pick your choose, and you will not get disappointed.
And
Yeah.
clean. I've seen the
Yeah.
cleanliness is very good.
Yes, yes,
The food, the partitions, and everything is very, very nice. So you'll love the food here.
absolutely.
And then the third thing is the favorite thing about, actually, not the favorite thing. What would you wish to know before you started your PhD? So for the aspiring PhD students.
Oh, okay, that's a good one. I was trying to think of something clever, but I think honestly, it's more about how to be more organized, I guess, within myself. I learned that throughout the way.
Hmm.
I don't think it doesn't hurt to have that sorted out before. But it's something you learn as you grow, also part of
I
the research
agree.
process, or you as a person. But I think that what makes the biggest difference for research and for anything. But now thinking out loud, I think also to keep yourself with hobbies that you like. Research is great and you should spend time on it, but you should have something else to keep you sane, like a podcast like this, or exercising,
Yeah.
being active. I think,
Socializing. Or,
yeah, socializing. Have a group of friends that you can do these physical activities with, hiking, running, gymming,
That's
whatever that is. I think keeping your mind and body healthy is actually a huge like success factor in having a good PhD and a good time, whichever country or city you ended up with.
awesome advice. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Matias,
No, thanks, Hafiz.
for your time and guidance. I hope, and we hope that you
Yeah.
guys could learn from something, and maybe you will see Matias at NUS sometime soon. And yeah,
see.
good luck. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.